I'm back. I wanted to upcycle one of my thrifted clothes and I decided to go with this white oversized button-up shirt to turn into a top. The measurements that I took were my bust measurement, my waist, and the length that I wanted the top to have. Then I transferred the measurements onto the top with the midpoint aligned with the buttons to make it centered, and drew a line using a chalk. And I also added 1/2 inch on all edges for the seam allowance. Make sure that the measurements are correct before cutting. I duplicated the pieces for the lining. Next is I opened up one of the sleeves for the straps, and I'm just ironing it to remove the creases. And folded the fabric twice to make 4 1.5 inch strips. I ironed the fold so that it would be easier to cut it in half. I basically did the same thing for the ruffles, except they are 5.5 inches. After that, we should have our main pieces, lining pieces, straps, and fabric for the ruffles. To make the straps, first fold one end and then fold it lengthwise and sew on the edge. Then turn it inside out using a safety pin, and then you have a strap, and do the same thing for the other 3. Next is to pin and sew the main pieces right sides together, but I realized I was about to pin the fabrics wrong because if I sew, the pins are gonna be underneath, so I turned it the other way around and pinned the fabrics with the sharp tip of the pin pointing on the rest of the fabric so that it would be easier to remove as I sew. Next is I marked 4.5 inches from the center of the top to know where I'm going to attach the straps. And I also did the same thing on the other side. Then I sewed the ruffle pieces together to make a long strip of fabric and hemmed the bottom. And you should also hem the edges as well, which I forgot to do, unless you are gonna attach the ends of the ruffles together. Next is I used stitch number 3 for the top edge of the long strip of fabric to make the gathers, and remember to not backstitch because you are going to pull on the thread tails. I'm pulling on the top thread carefully to not break the thread, and I'm gonna continue pulling until its length is the same as my waist measurement. Once they are of the same length, I'm just tying knots on the ends to make the ruffles secure, and I'm just kind of distributing the ruffles evenly as possible, and then after that I'm pinning them onto the right side of the top, and we're gonna sew a straight stitch on the edge. Then I replaced my straight stitch foot with an applique foot to sew a zigzag stitch on the edge as well. I think my needle actually bent a little bit when I was sewing a straight stitch on the ruffles, and so when I used the zigzag stitch, I have broken 2 needles. Fuck. So I just replaced it with a new one and continued with the sewing. Next is to sandwich the straps and the ruffles between the main and the lining pieces, and then we are going to pin and sew along the sides, leaving a small gap on one end. Then snip off the corners and the excess straps and turn it inside out. Since the gap is between the 2 seams, it will be easier to fold the raw edges inside. And I'm just top stitching it very close to the edge. I also top stitched on the top edge, and we're done! Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button if you want to see more. See you on my next video. Later!